Hi, my name is Victor Hong. I'm the Technical Services Director for Stapleton Spence. I wanted to first start off by thanking you for your interest in this series of webinars on prunes. Today's topic, Prunes 101, what Grandma never told you about prunes. I remember as a child, when my mom was pregnant with my little brother, I asked my grandma, "Grandma, what happened to Mom?" And she wisely told me that a little piece of sand got inside my mom and started growing into a baby. Well, talk about a kid who was afraid of the sand and of the beaches. There are many misconceptions out there, and there's certainly a lot of misconceptions about prunes. Today I'm going to clear some up for you. Here's what we're going to go over today. We're going to go over the topic of why all prunes are plums, but not all plums are prunes. Then how plums get turned into prunes. Is it true what Grandma told you about prunes? How prunes aid in digestive health. Why canned prunes are a great menu item in healthcare. We're going to go over some simple recipes using canned prunes. And finally, we're going to go over just how cost-effective canned prunes really are. Let's start with the subject I'm sure keeps you up awake at night, why all prunes are plums and not all plums are prunes. There are over 2,000 varieties of plums, but it ends up that only a little over 100 of these can be dried. If you go to the market during the summer, you'll see a variety of plums on the supermarket shelves, varieties such as the Santa Rosa or the Damson, and then of course you'll see prune plums. The larger varieties such as the Damson and Santa Rosa, they can be dried, but when they're dried, they're not stable. They'll tend to mold. Only a certain number of varieties, such as the prune plum, can be dried and maintain no molding issues and be stable for up to 2 years. And so only those varieties are called prunes. And the reason that they can be dried without molding is because of their chemical properties. They're high in fiber, they very often contain sorbitol, and they have so many a higher level of solids than the other plums that when they're dried, they're just microbially stable. So that's why not all plums are prunes. Now, the most common variety of drying plums is the French prune, and commonly known as the Digestive plum. And here you can see a picture of the Digestive plum. It's a plum that's between 1 and 2 inches. It's a purple oval plum. You can see the picture in the background, and that's the variety that's dried into a prune. Now, how do you do this? Well, traditionally, the plums were dried in the sun, but today, well, we use a dehydration process that's a little bit faster than drying in the sun. And I'd like to just go over that with you. Here we have a picture of a tray of plums getting ready to be dried. The process is the plums are taken from the trees. They're put on these trays. Of course, they're washed. Here we have a picture of the washed plums on a tray. These trays get packed into these basically railway cars, like here. Here you can see stacks and stacks of plums and trays. They go into these dehydrators, which are basically, if you can imagine, a garage. As you can see, there are railroad tracks where the carts of plums are pushed in. Once this tunnel or garage is full, the doors are closed, and hot air is blown in to dry the plums. Here we see a picture of the fans that are on top of these dehydration tunnels. This fan is quite large. You can't tell from the picture, but it's quite large, and it blows air in through a series of heaters, and the heaters heat the air to upwards of over 100 and over 200 degrees, and in basically 12 to 18 hours, the plums are dried. And basically what we have here is what happens. The plums start out as plums, and when they're dried, the drying ratio is 3 to 1. You start out with 3 pounds of fresh plums, they'll end up as 1 pound of dried plums, or prunes. The result is a delicious fruit that's convenient, a good source of vitamin A, a good source of fiber, high in antioxidants, and has a glycemic index of 29, which is qualified as a low GI or low glycemic index food, which is perfect for those who have issues with sugar levels. So grandma tip number 1, prunes are the fruit of dried plums. and they are concentrated nutrition. In fact, as we went over before, they're concentrated by almost 3 times. Now, let's go over the misconception that prunes and prune juice make you go to the bathroom. Well, here's the fact. Was Grandma right? Well, if you're constipated, prunes will in fact help you go to the restroom. Prunes are high in fiber and they're high in sorbitol, and that combination will basically help, quote unquote, in layman's term, lubricate your system and help you to go. However, if you're not constipated, prunes would just keep you regular. So the fact is, the rumor that if you just eat a bunch of prunes, that you immediately need to go to the restroom, that's just simply not true. So it's safe to go out there and get your daily servings of prunes. Here's a quote from WebMD, and I want to just basically outline some of the important facts that they point out. That prunes are packed with fiber. Again, they're a good source of fiber, which means they have more than 10% RDA of fiber per serving. 2, they contain sorbitol, which is a natural laxative, and we'll learn later that this sorbitol is also great in terms of it as being a functional ingredient in cooking. Prunes can prevent or improve constipation symptoms, just like we discussed before, and they are safe for long-term use. And while it's not implicitly in there, eating prunes will not make you go immediately. They just keep you healthy from a digestive standpoint. Grandma tip number 2, dried plums help maintain a healthy digestive system. Now let's talk a little bit about canned prunes. Canned prunes are versatile and they're convenient. They're ready to eat. You just open the can and serve. However, they can also be used as ingredients. They're perfect as a topping. You can blend them into a sauce. If you take canned prunes and put them in a blender, blend them up. They make this wonderful puree, which you can turn into a sauce, or you can use in baking. And in fact, they're perfect as a fat replacer. Let me give you an example. Here's a brownie recipe from actually Food Network from Alton Brown. It has half a cup of butter in it. What we can do is we can remove half of that butter, which is a 1/4 cup, and substitute it with a 1/4 cup of pureed canned prunes. The resulting product is just as good as the original with half the fat. Perfect way to save on calories and get additional fiber into your diet. And you can apply this to any brownie or any cake recipe. Now I'd like to discuss the concept of food exchange. This was this is from the Mayo Clinic. However, the food exchange concept was invented by the ADA. And basically, one food exchange contains 15 grams of carbohydrates and 60 calories. And so what they've done is they've compiled a list of fruit with their serving size to equal one food exchange. So here's an example from the list. Grapes, 17 small grapes, one fruit exchange. 1 small orange, one fruit exchange. Half a pear, one fruit exchange. And of course, for prunes, it's 3 prunes. I'd like to extend that to illustrate the value of canned prunes. In a typical number 10 can of prunes, there are 155 dried plums, or 155 prunes. If we apply the fruit exchange serving size to it, 155 divided by 3, there are 51 fruit exchange servings in a number 10 can. Now let's look at some other typical fruits such as canned peaches. A number 10 can of peaches contains 15 to 20 peaches. So if we just compare the two, 155 fruit in a number 10 can of prunes, 15 to 20 peaches in a number 10 can of peaches. If we apply the fruit exchange size, we'll get 52 servings in a number 10 can of prunes and only 24 in a number 10 can of peaches. Now, when you consider the fact that the cost of a number 10 can of prunes is much higher than a number 10 can of peaches, but if you factor in the servings, it ends up that the canned prunes are actually a better value in terms of the number of servings than a can of number 10 peaches. Something to keep in mind. In fact, it is such a good value that we've now made it available in a 310 case. So basically, 3 number 10 cans of canned prunes has the equivalent number of servings as 6 number 10 cans of canned apricots, peaches, fruit cocktails, or applesauce. There are a lot of advantages of this. A 310 case has a smaller footprint. It's easier for handling. It's lighter, so there's OSHA and safety advantages. We've all seen the racks that there are in restaurants and food service institutions where, cases go up fairly high. Much easier to lift and move a 310 case than a 610 case. And there's a lower case cost. And finally, there's just as many fruit exchange servings in a 310 case of prunes as there are in a 610 case of most other fruit. So, grandma tip number 3, dried plums are a great value when compared to other canned fruit. And finally, after we've dispelled all these different issues, grandma tip number 4, it's okay to play in the sand. Thank you very much. And for more information, visit us on the web at www.stapletonspence.com. Thank you.